Hey everyone, Eric Thompson. I'm still here. I still hope that you're doing well. You made it through part 1, and so here is part 2 of E.T.'s Film Review Top 10 Film Scores. And in this section, in this part 2, Hannah and I are going to talk about our number 5, 4, 3, 2, and number 1 film scores. So you got about a half an hour ahead of you. Hope that you've been enjoying it so far. Thanks as always for watching. Take care. My number 5. The movie is so grand and so epic. I can't explain to you the score quickly. So I'm just going to say, Lawrence of Arabia won an Oscar for substantially original music, because some of it is borrowed from other sources, okay? Bridge on the River Kwai, remember that march? The same guy who wrote that wrote Hymn of the Guns, or March of the Guns, or whatever it's called for Lawrence of Arabia. So it wasn't totally original, that's okay. Or original to Maurice Jarre, who wrote the score. Just get into it, alright? Here again, a movie of such length and dramatic weight, but the music ties it all together with themes, and certainly with Lawrence and his theme that plays throughout, and music that captures both the mystery of the desert, but the distinction of the empire, the British Empire, okay? And you have that both in playful ways and serious ways, playful moments and serious moments. I love it so much. I want to watch it right now. It's not on Netflix though, so I can. Hannah, number 5.
My number 5 is Pride and Prejudice.
No.
It's a good score.
Yeah.
All right. It was written by Dario Marianelli in 2005. The director was Joe Wright, and it was nominated for the Academy Award, but it did not win, much to my chagrin. These original works that Marianelli composed were inspired by Beethoven, who happens to be my favorite romanticist. So they have a lot of romantic flavor to them. And why I think this is such a great score is because Marianelli really did his homework on this, and he wanted to create what he considered pieces that would be heard in this time period, pieces that could be switched in, and that these characters, Elizabeth Bennet, Mr. Darcy, could have actually heard at these balls. And I think what is so amazing is that he did such great mimicry of these artists. And I mean, he's no Beethoven, obviously, but it's really great. It fits in. You wouldn't know that it wasn't composed in the 18th century, which is what it was meant to be. So I think that he not only fit the time period perfectly, but he came up with original romantic style pieces in, the 21st century. And it's really flawless. It's a great track just to listen to if you want to relax. Dawn happens to be my personal favorite, but they're all great. So, nominated but didn't win. Marianelli, Wright combination. That's my number 5.
What is your favorite Beethoven piece?
Ooh, that's a rough one. I want to go with the obvious Symphony number 9, just because I heard it performed by the Lexington Philharmonic and the Lexington Choral Society, and it just took my breath away. I think that the time period in his life when he was composing that and the majesty of it is just hard to be matched. I'm also a fan of Symphonies number 4 and 5 and Moonlight Sonata, but they're all very experienced those, I hope.
If you haven't, you know what I'm saying. Get to it. Did you know the Ninth Symphony was one of the first major choral works, or at least a symphonic piece, to employ a chorus?
Really?
Yeah. They just stood there for an hour and waited to come in. And the soloists, of course, had been in orchestral pieces before, symphonies, but never a full chorus. So it was very different for the time, but he kind of broke some of the rules. He's one of my favorites, so I think he's I don't know, he and Mahler keep fighting for the number 2 spot. Gosh, he's good. Okay, number 4. Let's get back to Hans Zimmer for a minute. Gladiator. Whoa! I'm only going to say that I love this so much because of the same reason I love the movie Travel, okay? We start in Germania. Deep, husky, the bunch of guys, men's choir. Ooh, you remember yep? And then you get this deep, stirring strings, the double basses, all that stuff. And then, whoa, we're in the Middle East. We're in wherever it is. Again, I can't remember where it is. Since last time I talked about that, I couldn't remember where it is either. And then, zam, we're over to Rome. majestic, big brass fanfare hymns and all of this. And then, zoom, we're in the Colosseum. Rat race, crazy battle fight music, and then somehow Hans Zimmer is genius. Okay, I think this is one of his best, truly. You know, finds a way to capture the essence of all of these scenes. And if you've not heard the score by itself, please do. You'll not be disappointed. Unfortunately, this Gladiator lost to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, in which I saw no crouching tigers or hidden dragons. I don't know about you. I didn't see any. But it is good, and it was so good that, like The Lion King, they brought out a second CD. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
there was. Well, okay. but there was a more music from Gladiator, and that had a lot of kind of remixed tracks that had the dialogue worked in. I'm okay with that. I don't got a problem with that. Please check it out. Enjoy number 4.
All right, my number 4 is Atonement. And this is another Dario Marianelli and Joe Wright combination. This one was in 2007. So when at first you don't succeed, try again. This time they actually did bring home the Academy Award for Best Score, and it totally and completely deserves it. This movie, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you haven't, you need to. It is a very dark and complicated plot line. It's called Atonement for a reason. It deals with some really, really heavy stuff, some guilt, loss of innocence, growing up, war, love. It covers it all. It's a great, great movie and a great, great soundtrack to go along with it. What makes it great is that Marianelli's genius. He brings in all kinds of different sounds for this score. He has different instruments to help with the complexity. He has some light, simple piano pieces, and he has some heavy, dark string stuff to fit the mood and the different scenes as the film and plotline progress. But here's what makes it number 4 on my list, and what is so brilliant, in my opinion, that Marianelli does. He brings in this typewriter throughout the whole thing, and he uses it almost as like a percussion instrument, but it really adds, because this whole time you find out that the main character, the narrator, is writing this as a story looking back. And the typewriter, he only uses it in the film when characters are actually typing. So he fit that in nicely, but you think in your head, how can you weave a typewriter in with strings and pianos and stuff and make it not seem totally obvious? But he does it in such a carefully crafted way. A wonderful score through and through, different moods, different styles, and a typewriter. And he mixes it into this lovely package that is in the list.
I remember this film, tremendous film of its own before, okay? It's gonna blow your hair back. You're gonna have issues after this film. You're gonna have to go to church after this movie. You watch it and you realize how awful you are. It's okay, all right? It's good to look ourselves in the mirror through a film. That's why it's art. I don't remember the typewriter from the first time I saw it. I just didn't recall. But this is what the difference is between a tactful device and a reckless device. You remember in the third Harry Potter with the time travel, the Prisoner of Flamshazam, whatever it was called. Well, whatever it was. And when they go back and he throws the thing at his own head and she, or whatever it was, and there was the clock ticking the whole time, right? Now it was loud and it was obvious. We're in a time travel mode because you can hear the clock ticking, okay? That's not what happens in Atonement. It's so tactfully used, so masterfully used that you don't realize it, but it is the continuity of the story. Unbelievable. My number 3, not related to Atonement, although it is, Ben-Hur. Pow! A Tale of the Christ. Miklos Rozsa. I mean, we're talking epic film music composer of old, okay? Where he represents a lot of music in this score. Certainly noteworthy among the themes, at least, are when they're on the battleship. And then rapid speed. It's just a little thing, but it gets suspenseful when they're at running speed, all that stuff. It's very exciting. Also, was it in Bach? I think it was in one of Bach's Masses. And the St. Matthew Passion. Now, whenever Jesus talks, the orchestration, either there's a modulation to a certain, like a key of its own, like Jesus' words, like a red letter word, right? And so the music changes suddenly when Jesus speaks in the music. The same is true here in Ben-Hur, that whenever Jesus appears on screen, which is only 3 or 4 times in the whole film, the big, rich, lush, beautiful orchestration immediately collapses to a pipe organ, but not like a Phantom of the Opera pipe organ, like a chapel organ. Very beautiful, simple, touching, lush organ. And it's captivating. You should go back and just look on YouTube for a scene with Jesus in it, Ben-Hur, the crucifixion scene or whatever it is. You will understand how genius it is. This is something that he wants you to understand. Jesus is on the scene. Pardon the pun. And there he is, and he wants you to pay attention to that. He uses a musical device that does so, and does so well. Holy smokes. Hannah, number 3.
Alright, my number 3 is a totally different scene than Ben-Hur, but it is Slumdog Millionaire by A.R. Rahman in 2008, directed by Danny Boyle. Now, this movie was iconic and took home a slew of awards, including Best Score, and in my opinion, each and every award was well deserved. It was up against some tough competition that year, but you disagree?
Oh, yes. That was, was that the There Will Be Blood year? Was that a different year?
There Will Be Blood years.
That's right. What was the year with the Slumdog Millionaire? Keep talking. I'll
Okay. Anyways.
Please. Sorry.
So here's why I like this movie so much. A.R. Rahman was able to mold together tons of different sounds for this score. Okay, this movie was all over the place. It was following Jamal growing from a little boy in the slums in India to being an adult millionaire who's chased the love of his life this whole time. So he's got a lot of different moods and modes to cover. And he mixed together somehow pop culture, India, and a little bit of Spanish in there, all together to create this complementary score. It was outstanding. And here's an interesting fact that makes it all the more amazing in my opinion. A.R. Rahman had planned this score for 2 months, and then he completed the entire thing in 2 weeks. Which is insane to me, because some of these pieces, which I'll get to in just a minute, are just so groundbreaking and amazing little works of art that I can't believe he did it all in 2 weeks. But he took home the Academy Award for the Best Original Song in a huge production of Jai Ho. Also nominated from this film was Osaya. And they were both pieces that A.R. Rahman had written himself, and they were just these fantastic new sounds that I think nobody even knew what to do with at first when we first heard it, which made it so addictive. It was fresh, it was new, it was different, it was mixing all these cultures. You have Jai Ho, which is about India, and in the middle they just have this section in Spanish. And you're just like, what is this? Where did this come from? But he draws from a large variety of different influences, and it comes together in a way that just cannot be explained. Maybe it's because he did it in 2 weeks, I don't know. But he has the upbeat numbers like Jai Ho, pop pieces like Paper Planes by MIA, and then he slows down and he has these beautiful haunting melodies like La Christine, which is mixed in there, and it's almost just like this lullaby. It represents the beautiful female love of Jamal. And it just, whenever it comes on, you're just transformed into this just otherworldly peace among the craziness that is Dubai. It's great. Jai Ho is my ringtone for lots and lots of years. That's not why I'm picking it, but it is a great song. To me, A.R. Rahman, compositional groundbreaker. He brought together lots of cultures and influences and created a new genre for movie soundtracks and scores. And I think it goes right along with the gem that this film is.
The Curious Case of Benjamin Button it was nominated for more awards than Slumdog Millionaire was that year, and I just have to stand by it. Alexander Desplat, who you had earlier on,
right?
Gosh darn it! But his score was more functional and not as revolutionary. Just looking here, please, by all means, go and look on YouTube for the performance from that year's awards, because they did the 3 songs. There were only 3 songs nominated. That's not very common. Normally there are at least 4 or 5. But they did Jai-Ho, Down to Earth from Wally, which was the love song, really, if you recall. That was such a sweet song, too. That whole series of Pixar films had such sweet little pop tunes. Peter Gabriel, you remember him, Sledgehammer, that's right. And then Messiah from Someone a Millionaire, the little medley. And it's awesome, and it deserved it. But
that was a tough year for Academy Awards. There were a lot of really good movies. You had Milk, which was great, Slumdog, kind of Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
The Reader,
that was a great one.
Kate Winslet, you took all of that. Gosh darn, that was tough. I never saw Milk or Frost Nixon. I really wanted to see Frost Nixon, but definitely not Benjamin Button. Anyway, but I'm not going to take anything that makes it look something like Millionaire. Okay, very good. Oh, we're almost there. Number 2, Lord of the Rings. Now, again, here we could not just say one score. It is not possible. Howard Shore, I mean, he pretty much backed up his truck to the Oscars and said, put him in there. And they just threw awards at him, okay? At least, the first Fellowship of the Ring won an Oscar. Two Towers was nominated, won a Grammy. It was not as good. That's okay. And then Return of the King won 11 Oscars, of course. Among them, the Best Original Score. It's a case study in how to develop film music. And, I mean, I feel like there are 100 things I can say about this score selection and this, I mean, this unbelievable anthology of music. What am I going to say? You know, it's perfection. You know, anything you want to say about Lord of the Rings?
I liked the movies.
You didn't like the music, that's okay. Not everyone else.
I didn't dislike the music. I only saw the movies about once, so I didn't really pay attention to the music that much. I know they've gotten a lot of attention for their great scores, though. So.
It's not terribly uncommon, but Howard Shore put together a Lord of the Rings orchestra that toured for a while. He was the principal conductor for the first year. That just does not happen a lot, where the music is so big that the composer goes back and takes all of it and composes a suite, an hour-and-a-half long suite, kind of a symphony, and then puts an orchestra together and they tour around the world playing the music from the movie. And people come out to see it on the big screen with the orchestra there. This is actually becoming, just come to think of it, much more popular now with symphony orchestras. They did it in Chicago, in Seattle. Oh, when I was in Chicago, you would have so enjoyed it. We could never get tickets, but they did West Side Story, where they played the score and then they showed the movie at the same time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think they did Gone with the Wind or something like that, where they have all the dialogue and everything on the screen, but then the orchestra plays the soundtrack. And so it's becoming more and more popular. I know that, like Seattle, in Seattle, the symphony there does it with video games. They have video game nights, and all the weirdos, nerds dress up as video game characters and come to the symphony hall. Now, who does that? Okay, it's an exciting time for symphonies because movie music is being more and more embraced. And Howard Shore comes out and says, I can make really, really good movie music, and he does. So thank you, Howard Shore. Number 2.
All right, my number 2 is Star Wars. John Williams, 1977. This is another one. You have a whole slew of movies that, how do you pick just one? I'm going to say the original Star Wars, the first one, episode 4, just because it was the first time that we heard these themes. But really, this could go for any of them. I don't know about the most recent 3, actually. Let's see those. The older ones, anyways. There's not a lot to say here. It's a John Williams classic. Everyone knows these pieces, but it's not just by virtue of everyone knowing them, I think, that this deserves it. I think that's a component, because you have to think, what is it about these that, why are they drawn to these? Well, because this film score fits the movie so perfectly. And in addition to fitting the movie, it's great music. It's a balance of both. It's great on its own, it's great with the film, it's together, it sums up these characters. Aside from Jaws, I'm not sure that there's a more recognizable villain theme than Darth Vader's. I mean, maybe Psycho, something like that, but this is, I mean, they are just iconic. It's great. I don't really know what else to say about it aside from this. To me, is John Williams' home run. I think it's the best score that he's done, and a lot of people would agree that. Lots of people have argued that this is the greatest film score of all time. Definitely one of the most well recognized and iconic and beloved, along with the series.
Well, it is part and parcel of my number one, which is also Star Wars. And Hannah has spoken well. That, you know, a lot of people have said, and unwisely, that Star Wars would never have been as popular as it was without the music. It's just not true. George Lucas said it was not true, okay? But here, with Williams, you have a score that is of such clarity and beauty and conviction and action and drama, you can't get away from it. Definitely the reason why I have it as my number one, based on, remember, how long ago did I say it? How long have we been? Oh my gosh. So 46 minutes ago I talked about how you recognize a moment or a feeling because of the music itself. Not because of a theme, even though Star Wars is the crown of all themes, okay? Not just the Overture, or the Rebel Attack, or the Imperial March, or the Princess Leia theme, which is my favorite. You know, not because of all of those, but because you just remember the film based on the music. Example, Joe and I were sitting around one day, and I had just bought the full set of all the music from the first three films, or the original three. And I put it in, and it didn't take about 5 minutes, and we were reciting the movie to the music. And of course, there are moments when there's no music, you know, where there's no score in the film. And so we would pick it right back up, like when they're looking over Mos Eisley and all that, like those little cues that they're innocuous, like they weren't ever meant to be synonymous with a certain scene or a certain line of dialogue, but they are, because I don't know why, it's magic. That's how John Williams is so good. 1977, Oscar, Golden Globe, BAFTA Award, Grammy Award, okay? It set John Williams on his path to become, well, the second most nominated, well, he's how do you say it? He is the second most nominated person for Oscar awards. That doesn't seem like the right way to say it. Anyway, so he's second place with 42, and the first guy has 43. That's his name. He was an old school composer. Anyway, there you go. So I think that's awfully noteworthy. Williams did do well in coming back to the source material with the latter three films. You remember probably the most iconic is the March of the Duel of the Fates. Yeah, it's pretty iconic. And that was sort of the second theme that ran throughout the course of the films. But, wow. I don't know if you can hear the thunder, but I can. So we better hurry up and get it somewhere before the power goes out. Yeah.
All right, my number one is Titanic by James Horner in 1997. And before you all start rolling your eyes at Titanic, you know it was a Titanic blockbuster directed by James Cameron. I'm going to try my best to separate the hype for the movie from the hype from the score. Because of the hype from the movie, I don't think the score got as much attention as it should have. I mean, aside from the fact that it did get the best original song, the best original score, and it topped Billboard charts for I think 11 straight weeks. I'm not 100% sure if that's, but it's close to that. Anyways, the album is the all-time bestseller for a mostly orchestral album all time, because people just loved this movie and the music is wonderful. All right, so James Cameron is a genius. We know that this was the #1 movie, most highest-grossing movie until Avatar, his second movie, surpassed it, so he's great. But we have to give James Horner a little bit of credit, because without James Horner, you would not have had My Heart Will Go On. He did not necessarily, he helped work on the song, but it was done by Celine Dion. Here's the thing, James Cameron did not think that there should have been any vocal tracks on the album. He thought it would make the movie too commercialized and didn't think it would fit. But James Horner and Celine Dion collaborated and recorded this in secret and then presented it to James Cameron towards the end. And he was like, okay, we have to have it. So thank James Horner for that wonderful ballad. Now, aside from My Heart Will Go On, which is of course the iconic single from that movie, we need to look at the score as a whole, because if this is going to be the #1 score, it has to have more than just a single to go with it, and more than just a theme. Just like what Eric was saying, a #1 score should be able to take you to a moment in the film just by hearing 2 or 3 seconds of it. And it should also be able to conjure the image and the feeling of whatever it is it's trying to capture. So I think that James Horner does this just perfectly. And I have this album on my Spotify list, and I listen to it every now and then. But it's hard for me to listen to it because I get so emotional genuinely when I listen to it, because when the portrait comes on, I see the little old lady. I feel it just like I'm watching the movie. And when certain themes come on, I feel the excitement of boarding it, and the heartbreak and the fear that goes along with each different theme and each different part. He carries this one theme throughout it so delicately and so subtly throughout every piece, and you hear it, and it pulls you right back into the story. And it's so hard. I mean, that to me is what makes not only a good score, but great music. Music that makes you feel, that's tangible, that transforms you and transcends you. That is what this is for me. And I think one of the powerful things, that the reason why this topped Star Wars for me, because what Eric said so eloquently about Star Wars is all true in my opinion, but I think that Titanic goes a little above and beyond, because it also has that single that goes with, it went into pop music too. You love Star Wars music, but it didn't have any kind of My Heart Will Go On to go with it. So this really covered 2 great genres. You had your classical music, and you also had this single that they're so different, but they're so right. They're both so right for this film. And of course the film is great too. But I would challenge any person who has seen the movie, which I think is every person ever born who has seen the movie, but anyone who's seen the film, really go back and listen to these tracks, because I promise it's impossible not to instantly picture the Titanic sailing or sinking, or the little old lady reminiscing. When you hear it, it'll take you right back to where you were when you first heard the music. So it's really stormy out there. But that's my #1. Star Wars is a close second, so.
I absolutely agree. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that My Heart Will Go On was the greatest selling single of all time until Candle in the Wind, which was re-recorded for Princess Diana by Elton John. That's kind of a big deal, okay? That a song can be that monumental. But I mean, I'm thinking of the use of theme that Jim Horner applies. And of course, the same is true in Avatar. Go listen to Enemy at the Gates, which Horner also did. Also some Goldsmith in there, and you'll hear some of his devices used again. He steals his own music. No one cares. He wins Oscars for it, okay? I think especially of that, when the ship sails, and then when DiCaprio and his friend Mauricio, or whatever his name is, and they're on up on the bow for the first time, and oh my gosh, it just, it's so evocative. And I love that movie. I know a lot of haters who just cannot stand it, and I don't know what is wrong with you, but the music just is such a beautiful, perfect marriage, and you just don't get it a lot for whatever reason. The composer and the director are of different minds, or they've never worked together before, or they don't understand each other. But here, it's a true, beautiful, blissful marriage. And so we did it just under an hour. Hannah has set the record for the longest top 10 video with me. But we love music so much, and we could go on for another hour talking about it, and more movies that we love. Remember again that these are not definitive lists, okay? These are just what we love. And we want to hear what you have to say, okay? What are your favorite film scores? of course, we know that we missed so many. And we didn't even get into musicals. West Side Story, Sound of Music, and then other iconic but lesser known films because maybe they just weren't as popular or because they were thought of as being too nerdy. Back to the Future. What a score! But, I mean, come on. Okay. Let me know in the comment section below. Throw in your top 10 list. No one ever does, but I keep saying it. And as always, like the video, like it on Facebook, hop over to YouTube, like the video over there, subscribe to this channel. I try to put stuff up about once a week. If you didn't see the home walkthrough video, go check that out. I just got to wash my dryer today. You heard the dryer go off. That was kind of fun. Okay. And Hannah, thank you so much. Did you enjoy your top 10 experience?
I did.
Very good.
It was very really fast.
It sure did. Okay, we are going to quit this now before the tornado hit. There was a tornado warning today. Did you hear that? Yeah.
Maybe right now.
I shouldn't have said that. My mom would not appreciate that. It's not close by, but actually it's really close by. Okay, everyone, take care. Any closing thoughts?
No. Go listen to all the songs we told you about.
Yes.